as we are aware, our topic for today is the importance of cross-industry collaboration. And it is a burning topic and a burning issue around the recycling industry. So earlier we had intra-industry protectionism, I would say, to put the larger picture in a smaller cosmos. But now, of course, we can't work in solitude. Each industry is dependent on the other, as we have seen, say, in the supply chain or in the import and export domain. So with that, I would like to invite our experts for the day to highlight the importance of cross-industry collaboration. Mr. Balyan, we'll start with you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Urvi, for inviting me. And thanks the organizers. And I also wish everyone a very happy New Year 2022. It's a very broad topic. When you say about the collaboration, we just had a very wonderful session from Professor who mentioned about a lot of uses of plastics. So when you talk about the cross-industry collaboration, first of all, we will have to understand why this need has emerged in recent time or over the years. So if you see during the pandemic time or in the last 2-3 years, we have become too much dependent on the electronic devices. And recently we have seen from the handheld device to the servers, to the routers, to a lot of other electronic devices, we are depending on some of the key materials and like semiconductors. And, we faced a lot of shortage in the recently because of pandemic and because of other reasons. And in the time to come, we might face this shortage because of other reasons also, which includes climate change as well, in which our company work very predominantly. So the in the light of increasing global supply chain uncertainty, companies are shifting now their gears towards the circular economy. How? By extending the lifetime of product to the reuse, repair, remanufacturing, recovering important raw materials from the products at the end of life of the product. We minimize the need to extract more raw materials for new products. Now, this particular process is giving rise to one process, that is recycling. Why recycling is important? Because we have seen in past uncertainty in supply chain. Now, this critical there are there are many raw materials for this entire process of supply chain, which generally are produced in only handful of countries, and which may make them prone to many uncertainties, including political instability or socioeconomic risk. So all these process of uncertainty, climate change, we are focusing on recycling, refurbishment, and all these things. Now, all these factors collaboratively giving rise to one phenomenon, that is a cross-industry collaboration. Now, because we know that cross-industry collaboration is very, very important, and how to do that. There are a lot of ways to do that. There are many companies coming forward in that particular collaboration. A Responsible Business Alliance is also developing an industry-wide framework for circular material movement in electronics production, e-waste recycling. This work aligns with the vision developed by Circular Electronics Partnership, which outlines 40 actions that need to happen in next decade for the electronic industry to achieve the phenomenon of circularity. Now, some raw materials in electronics are being recycled. As per my knowledge goes, around 17% of electronic waste was properly recycled in 2019, according to Global E-Waste Monitor. To increase this figure from 17% to much wider level, the industry needs new technologies, methods, a different level of collaboration. Now, when we say the collaborations, two things are very important. One is a corporate level collaboration. In corporate level collaboration, we talk about manufacturers, suppliers, distributors, retailers, and although in the corporate collaboration, government doesn't play a key role, but the next phase of collaboration, extended collaboration, where the government NGOs, they play a key role. So the entire process of collaboration, there are challenges also. What challenges? Sometimes producers often they view recycling, the recycled materials are, they perceive recycled materials are risky due to inconsistent supply, sometimes unknown technical performance, and this uncertainty and demand for recycled materials prevents recyclers from investing in new material recovery technologies and developing further R&Ds, innovations and progress. Now, considering this range of initiatives already underway, many industries are well positioned to lead the shift on a circular value chain. But this entire process need radical collaboration, new technologies, and development of supply chains that feed demand and create incentives for supply as well. Recently, I read somewhere, that global giants in the tire manufacturing, Michelin and Bridgestone, so they have come together and they are thinking how they can bridge the gap, and they can use the recovered carbon black from the end of life tires and make new tire using the recycled carbon black. And due to these technologies, they can save a huge amount of crude oil. They can save, almost more than 2 million tons of carbon dioxide. So a lot of industry-wide exercise I am seeing where they are coming in collaboration, steel industries and construction industries, where the construction industry, when the demolition of building is happening, they can always pass on the steel, to the steel companies, and they can recycle them. So a lot of collaboration are happening at various levels, and these collaborations will not only help the economy, will also generate a lot of business opportunities, a lot of employment opportunities. But at what is required at the at our level, at the business level, at the industry level, is a trust and a process. That process should start from the product, harvesting of raw materials, or a supply, or designing the product, or during the production time, or during the supply time, or during the distribution time. A harmonized system is required. So basically, industries and other stakeholders, they need to come together and they need to develop a sort of an ecosystem. And in that ecosystem, right from the design to the end of the life, everyone need to collaborate. Public, I have seen over the last 10 years, 15 years, the public now becoming more and more aware how to reuse the material, and nowadays they are becoming very, very meticulous about using any product, be it a pizza or be it any kind of battery or anything, right from riding a car to using any small items. They think, whichever particular company is reusing or utilizing the materials, they are quite concerned about that particular company and particular product. So a lot of awareness are happening in the society, and the industry-wide collaboration is very, very important to boost the economy, and also for our climate change. It will generate a lot of, it will also help our climate to in terms of reduction of carbon footprints. So I see a lot of potential in that. So that is my intake about that particular cross-wise collaboration. Thank you very much.
So yes, you make a very valid point there that cross-industry collaboration is the need of the 21st century and has been since I would say globalization has been a part of our lives, more so since then. So that Mr. Ghai, I would like to bring you into the discussion. What are the latest industry collaborations that are going on in the plastic sector? Who are the key players when we talk about intersectional industry methods of recycling?
And first and foremost, the producers are the key stakeholders who are the major contributors towards either the plastic waste industry or the e-waste industry. Another major stakeholder is Central Pollution Control Board and the Ministry of Environment, who has put forward and consistently improving the policies and the rules, who have, which is making this whole implementation of either the plastic waste or the e-waste rules more stringent, and it is making more transparent and traceable so far. So beyond this, what is required is that the local pollution control boards are also playing a major role in this as well, like state pollution control boards and the regional offices of this. So they are also aware, and they have started also, including the awareness campaign. They are also bringing other stakeholders like NGOs, the local NGOs, and the producers and recyclers and PROs on the same platform, so that they can all share knowledge and share their resources, so that they can contribute with each other. NGOs are very important because they have a local outreach, they know the local language, they know the local culture, and they also support in executing this plastic waste collection mechanism, basically from the panchayats and from the local bodies, because they have a better interaction with on the grassroots as compared to somebody who is walking from Bombay to Odisha or somebody who is walking from Delhi to Odisha. So NGOs also, especially those NGOs who are locally present at the very grassroots and have been working in the social development side or with the especially the rag pickers or the labor or the last mile connectors, what I would rather say. So NGO and the government who is making policy, recyclers are present, but as far as we believe in Shakti, upcycling which is possible in the multi-layered plastic space, we have been recycling. We are recycling all categories of plastic, and so far they are not very much plastic upcyclers or recyclers in the space. So we are quickly expanding through the space, and we are also supporting new recyclers to come up, and we are sharing our technology with them as well, so that they can stand up locally, and we also support them in the local supply chain, either from the municipal or the industrial side, so that a local problem can be solved, more jobs can be created locally. That is what we are trying to do. So these are the major stakeholders.
Okay, yes, of course, the step one in any cycle or any change is pivotal, as we have also seen in nature during our school days when we used to read our science books. So with that, Mr. Singhal, I would like to bring you into the discussion. As somebody who works with an organization called Karo Sambhav, which deals with the ground level workers, and I'm sure a lot of them would be associated with the people like you and I. We encounter them daily, be it people working for us or the rag pickers we meet. So what are the challenges you encounter while making them, who might not be as educated, a part of the entire inter-industry collaborative recycling approach?
So, hi, Ori, and hi, everyone. So if we were to talk of any waste in India, today, over I would say majority of the waste is managed by the informal sector, and we can talk about any waste stream. We have started seeing some shift towards formalization, but still the larger part is managed by the informal sector. Now, the big challenges of including the informal sector into the formal economy. The biggest part includes how to reach each and every individual at scale, because informal sector itself is a fairly large term. It has multiple tiers in itself. So generally people reach till the aggregators or smaller aggregators below the larger aggregators, but reaching out to each and every individual who is involved in rag picking or in waste management becomes a tremendous exercise. And here, the work which has been done by certain civil society organizations in the past, even by certain municipalities where they have tried to formalize and created platforms to formalize informal sector workers. I think the only way to approach that very last mile is via these channels. There are some initiatives we have tried in the past by working with a few civil society organizations, NGOs, to reach out to the last mile, but they haven't given the kind of results that one would like to envisage, because the amount of energy, the amount of efforts, the amount of financial investment, I think, that has to be done is huge. And today there are very limited resources for getting this finance into this formalization aspect. What EPR, since its advent in India, has done is it has bought some level of money, but not enough to bring about the change which is required. So while we have seen, little bit of improvement in how waste is being collected, how it is being recycled, the larger part still remains questionable. And what is required, and where does it all fail? It all fails because no one knows what's the true cost of doing all this. So there is no reference point from a cost perspective. So what is the cost of formalizing the sector? And if there are some of these reference costs available, and for any organization which is, whether we talk of taking an EPR route or a CSR route, those costs are defined and known, that this is a benchmark, this is the amount of money that it will require to solve the problem. Then at least we'll start seeing that journey. Right now, in absence of these unknown costs, or in absence of no reference costs, the path is to take the lowest cost route. And that lowest cost route makes organizations compliant, but does not necessarily solve the problem at scale. And so for me, a big challenge in this space is to get the right amount of finances which is required to really uplift to, because while we want waste out of informal sector, there is very little push on improving the social and working conditions of the people who are giving us this waste. There is a lot of noise, there is a lot of dialogue around it, but again, very little sustained action. I would say action, but not sustained action. And because this would require multi-years of work at a grassroots level, multi-years of work in terms of creating systems to which will support such waste workers. But that is not happening yet. We are moving in that space, so I'm fairly optimistic in the way things are moving, but we are still far from maturity.
Yes, as they say that well begun is half of the victory won. So hopefully we are only going to see the battle getting easier and easier, with the government getting on board and everybody realizing the importance of recycling and sustainability with the pandemic situation that is also going on currently. So with that, I would like to ask you, Mr. Ghai, that you are working in an industry which is heavily demonized, which is the plastic industry. So having said that, I have a two-pronged question for you. Firstly, what are the challenges of integration across multiple stakeholders in recycling? And secondly, how is Shakti Industry overcoming that?
Well, the first challenge that we face is the lack of awareness at the very regional in the government sector. So if I, approach a local producer and a very hyper-local factory for, they should contribute towards EPR. First of all, they are not aware. And after that, the regional officer is not fully aware. Sometimes it is, I don't know if it's funny or it's unfortunate, but it has happened with me that a regional officer doesn't even know that what EPR is. And so what we do is, in that point, that we go and partner with the State Pollution Control Board office, or we just directly educate the local regional officer that this is how things are happening, this is what is happening in the industry, and this is what Shakti is doing. Other than lack of awareness, we are facing a similar problem what Karol Sambhav is facing, that that NGOs, either they are the kind of results they're giving is not what we were expecting. And there needs to be, when we ask for a elaborated traceability, that's where that institution fails. So there is a need of NGOs who are actually working, and there are very few handful of the names that I know who are actually working on the grassroots. So that is what is, lacking, that they are, actually not working, or maybe if they are working, so they fail at some point. Second thing is there is no standardization of recycled products so far. There is a standardization how to do recycling, but so far there is no standardization of recycled products, because there is no standardization of the kind of waste that you're getting. Today, I may get 1,000 tons of multi-layered plastic, but tomorrow, or maybe for the whole month, I'll maybe sitting only on HDPE waste or maybe PP waste from the grassroots. And I have to rely either on the smaller aggregators or a level above them, because they are the one who is actually financing the whole informal value chain. Rag pickers themselves don't come forward to sell, their products, because it's a tradition, it's a cash tradition that is going on, and it has been going on from long before the term recycling was coined, maybe in this country. So that is also another challenge that we are facing in formalizing the rag pickers. And it is the lack of money also that is there, that if you want to onboard a rag picker, what we have experienced that you have to pay a lot of cash extra to them, and that's a very high risk. So if I pay 1 lakh rupees to maybe 1,000 different rag pickers, my 10 crore rupees is at stake. So that's a lot of money, and 1,000 rag pickers end up covering maybe a city like as big as Ludhiana, or maybe a region as big as Gurgaon. So yes, the lack of money is also there. This is the major challenges that we're facing. So we have not gone anything towards that side to try to overcome that. So what we have done is that we have tried to create an association of rag pickers, and from there we have financed that association, and then we have tried to do some handful of collection, which is not even 1 or 2% of the whole part of it.
Okay, so given that we are talking from the ground level up to the final step of recycling, we can also connect it to the government's idea of a Clean India, Swachh Bharat, and Atmanirbharta. So with that, I would like to ask you, Mr. Balyan, how are inter-industry collaborations complementing the government initiatives that are going on right now?
Like in terms of the collaboration with the help of government, based on my experience, whatever I have witnessed over the last few years, like government is coming up various mechanism, or various stuffs where they are spreading the awareness about the cross industry collaboration, but yeah, so basically it's a common approach where government, as I mentioned, the two-way to do the collaboration. At the one end is the corporate level collaboration, and there is a extended collaboration where government, NGOs, and industry should collaborate. But in reality, this is happening. I don't see it's happening at a wider scale. But although a lot of talks are being happening at that level. But I have seen, a lot of industry-wise collaboration. I have seen people are renting out their cars when they are not utilizing it for some other purpose, for rental purpose. In industry-wise collaboration is happening at much wider scale. Government is doing some efforts, but in reality, that efforts we are yet to see the effects of that. That efforts which are being taken by the government side. In terms of in terms of the individual industry wise, like whether it is plastic or electronic or even the apparel industry, textile industry, we see a lot of steps. They are doing a lot of even in the electronic industry. If you see example, a lot of refurbished phones are coming in the market, and now it's generating the employment opportunities for these companies as well. even on Amazon and some other Amazon and Flipkart platform, you see the refurbished phones are being sold. And so in the apparel industry, they are now tying up, setting a tie-up with the retailers, the distributors, and with this way, these electronic products or other products in the apparel industry or textile, all these consumable products, they are becoming affordable for huge population. And in the next decade, the population of the entire globe will be on the higher side. So all these collaboration which are happening at the industrial level, they will definitely help the consumers. And if the government become integral part of this collaboration, obviously that will act as a catalyst. So it will enhance the growth, and a lot of these products which are now not easily reachable to the consumers because of the cost or because of other reasons, they will become more and more reachable to end users and consumers. So in terms of collaboration, a lot of things are happening at the industry level, maybe not at that level. It might take another 5-year time or maybe 2-year time. But yes, if government, supports, this will act as a trigger.
Of course, the public and private players have to go hand in hand, and this is not just true for recycling, it is valid across all industries.
Yeah.
So with that, and given the paucity of time we have, I would like to take closing thoughts from all of you. So Mr. Singhal, we'll start with you. What is your vision and what are your expectations for inter-industry collaboration, given that we are in a sort of hybrid work situation still, given the Omicron pandemic that's going on?
Thank you, Uri. So I'd like to build upon your previous question a bit. So there are certain large-scale policy changes or interventions which are now coming into being, like the circular economic framework which is being created under Niti Aayog, that is bringing about interventions across multiple ministries to support and come up with a cross-industry, cross-government, cross-ministry sort of an approach. And that will be a hugely beneficial solution, because when we talk of any product, we are talking of multiple materials, multiple things that are going into a product, and there are interventions which are required by multiple government departments if we are to solve the problem at scale, which means creating collection systems, creating recycling systems, creating ways by which secondary material can go back into creation of new products. So I believe the fact that we are now finally adopting circular economy policies, that will really start a big movement. We started with EPR, but now moving beyond EPR to utilization of secondary materials is a big pathway. And that itself, I believe, will spur a very large industry collaboration, because there are clear dependencies between sectors here. For creation of any singular product, you need certain raw materials, and they are not coming from the same sector. So I believe that work has started, but again, a lot needs to be done, considering the fact that we are in a decade of change, and a great deal of efforts has to be put in this decade itself.
And Mr. Ghai, what do you have to say about the future of plastic industry, given the current scenario that we are living? What are your expectations, I would say?
So far, a lot of investment has come in. I've read that a 6-year-old startup has been invested by Morgan Stanley in Hyderabad, who is working in the recycling space, in the PRO space. So a lot of investment and a lot more investment is required in this space. Producers are ready to contribute, and there are more industry level solutions that is required, first of all. And foremost, plastic recycling should be recognized as an industry, a separate industry, so that more government incentives can be, the manufacturers of plastic recycled products can, get benefit of the government, local subsidies and incentives that government offer. More local presence is required because India is a culturally and business-wide a very diverse industry, and plastic is everywhere. So there is more hyper-local presence that is required, and hyper-local collection mechanism. There is a lot of investment that is required in that side. And instead of having various policies in various states, though our central policy, state policy is developing, making it more stringent, but it should be one central policy which everybody should follow in the whole nation, or at least regional wise the policy should be same, so that it becomes easy to follow. And because of the easier of the policy, the investments also come to this industry easily. There is more awareness that is required. There's a lot of awareness that has happened so far, but there's lack of execution that is so far. Even if there are bylaws made by Punjab, for example, but they are not able to implement on the grassroots because of political influence or lack of awareness in the executive level that is required. So these are the major.
Of course, politics and development have always gone hand in hand in this country from the very outset. So without getting too much into that, lastly, I would like to bring in Mr. Balian. What are your expectations going ahead from the recycling industry?
Like in the entire recycling process, in a circular economy, if you see, the waste is next to zero, because every residual from the use of product is converted or used to make new product. And in this entire process, the toxic substances are eliminated and waste is discarded, value is created through the help of biological or technical cycles. So the innovation is important, and quality recycling is equally important, because a lot of recycling is happening, but if the quality is not there in recycling, it will not help. When we do, one of the key challenges in the recycling is that many times a lot of trace metals, trace elements are quite important, but these trace elements they do not hold a very good economic value. So recyclers, they don't understand the importance, although they are crucial in any process. So quality recycling is very important, and that is possible when the cross industries, they come together for R&D, for new tools, new technologies, new methods. So once all these stakeholders, they collaborate, the quality recycling can happen, and with the help of that quality recycling, a lot of uncertainties can be answered in the entire space of circular economy and cross sector collaboration, which anyway will help this entire process of circular economy.
Okay, so with that, I think it's time to wind up our discussion for today, and I would like to thank all our industry experts who took out time on a weekend to join us and contribute their insights wholeheartedly.